Podium check, 1, 2, 3. Podium, 1, 2, 3. Mic check. Podium, keep. All right, mic check, 1, 2, 3. Podium. This is the podium microphone, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Mic check on the podium, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
You know which item you can buy him for that.
Commissioner Ryan. Commissioner Ryan Beatty, mic check. Ryan Beatty, mic check, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Mic check. Mic check, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Mic check. Seems a little low, but that's I can hear it out here. Mic check, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
You know, sometimes there's grant opportunities.
Jim Howell. Jim Howell, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Pete Meitzner. Pete Meitzner. Check, mic check, 1, 2, 3. David Dennis, mic check, 1, 2, 3. David Dennis, mic check.
I just got that message yesterday afternoon.
Sarah Lopez. Sarah Lopez, mic check, 1, 2, 3. Justin Wagner, attorney. Justin Wagner. Clerk, county clerk, mic check, 1, 2, 3. Mic check, 1, 2, 3. And Tom Stoltz, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
guys hear me? We're going to be starting shortly, so stand by. All right, stand by for the countdown. We still got about a minute here. Okay, you've got 1 minute. 45 seconds. 30 seconds. 15 seconds. Stand by. Here we go. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5.
Good morning, everybody. Okay, well, we welcome the rain. So welcome to the Wednesday, October 25th meeting of the Board of Sedgwick County Commissioners, and welcome audience, welcome those that are watching on Channel 8, KPTS, and the YouTube and Facebook channels of the county. So with that, we'll call the meeting to order. Madam Clerk.
Roll call. Commissioner Lopez. Our invocation to be led by a moment of silence. Please remain standing for the flag salute. That's fine.
Thank you.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next item, please.
Roll call. Commissioner Lopez.
Present.
Commissioner Dennis.
Present.
Commissioner Beatty.
Present.
Commissioner Howe.
Present.
Chairman Meitzner.
Present. Next item, please.
County announcements.
Good morning, Nicole. What do you have for us?
Good morning, Chairman, Commissioners. Nicole Gibbs of Strategic Communications. First Responders Day is this Saturday, October 28th. A major part of Sedgwick County services to the community is public safety. We put together a short video to honor our everyday heroes who work tirelessly for a safer, healthier, and better community.
Very good.
I don't know about you, but it's one of my favorite times of the year. It's the spookiest time of the year, and with all the haunting coming to your neighborhood next Tuesday, Sergeant Jossel from the Sheriff's Office is here to give some safety tips on Halloween. Sir?
Everybody put spooky music on their cell phones for their ringers this week? I think Lindsay did for sure. Okay. Good morning.
Good morning. I'm Sergeant Jousel with the Community Policing Unit here at Sedgwick County Sheriff's Office, and thank you for the video. First responders greatly appreciate that. So just a few tips here for those that are going to be going out trick-or-treating here in the near term. Children under 12 should always be accompanied by an adult. Older unaccompanied children should stay in groups with a pre-planned route and always be watching for cars. Be sure to wear reflective clothing and carry a flashlight or a glow stick. Ensure costumes fit well and it does not obstruct your visibility. Stay in well-lit areas. Take shortcuts. Do not take shortcuts or go off into isolated areas. Never go into a house or home of an unknown person or persons. Check the Sheriff's Office webpage before going out for any kind of registered offenders in your area. That can be found at www.sedgwickcounty.org/sheriff. Consider safe alternatives to trick-or-treating, such as community events or trunk-or-treats. Always report anything weird and unusual to the authorities. And be sure to only eat factory-wrapped treats unless you know specifically where they came from. With that, do you have any questions?
Okay. Any questions from everybody? Thank you for
Thank you for your time.
And thanks for all you do.
Thank you, sir, for being here. Along with it being a spooky season, it's also election season. It's here, and early voting at the election office started on October 23rd. It goes through noon on November 6th. The last day the election office can accept advanced ballot applications is October 31st. And early in-person voting at satellite locations opens November 2nd. To find a list of those locations, visit sedgwickcounty.org/elections. And with that, I'll stand for any questions.
Okay. Thank you for reminding us about elections. It's probably worth mentioning that most of us commissioners have received either emails or phone calls about an advanced ballot request that have been mailed out. And just a reminder that the government, the election office did not mail those out. And there's groups and candidates that can purchase mailing lists and they can fill out they can pre-fill out forms, or they can hand them in doorways or mail them out. And so we were not involved in that, and we used to do mailers Commissioner?
Every other even year.
Every other even year. And this year, actually, I think Johnson County tried to do it, and Secretary Schwab of the election office made sure that they weren't. So, but there's a lot of ways to vote, and so if you want to make a mention.
Thank you for mentioning this, Chairman. I really appreciate that. I just want to say, if you do receive one of these pre-filled out mail ballot applications, it still requires a photo ID reference, either a copy of your photo ID, government-issued photo ID, or a number. It's referenced from the state of Kansas if they issued a driver's license or a state ID card, and a signature of the voter that has to match the signatures on file. So again, if someone does provide that to a voter and they want to use that, it's perfectly okay to do so. I guess the point, though, is that we didn't send those out, and candidates and organizations certainly can provide those even pre-filled out, and it's perfectly legal. It's been challenged in court, and it's been determined by courts that it is a legal practice. So that's it. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you for your comments. Okay. Any other comments for everybody? I don't see any. Thanks, Nicole. As always, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Happy Halloween. Okay. Next item, please.
Public agenda.
Okay, Commissioners, we had one person sign up to address us at the public agenda. That would be on the County Commission agenda, at least. Samantha Rader, are you in the audience? Samantha? You can make your way to the podium, and I'm not sure you've addressed us before, but you have 5 minutes, and state your name and address for the record, and you have 5 minutes to.
Good morning, buenos dias. I'm Samantha Rader. I live at 2030 South Lulu, Wichita, Kansas, 67211. Good morning. So I've come to address you about the state of the health department. So I'm the wellness coordinator there. I recently completed the Work Well survey, and a couple things came to my attention. But first, I would like to tell you about why we choose to work at the health department or anybody in the county. So the top things that people mentioned was the dedication to the mission, the values, and the services we provide. So we do not, the very last thing we come to for the county is for money. That is a challenge that we face because many of our staff have to take on a second job. Prior to my job here at the health department, I worked 60 hours, and I came across some stats that were concerning to me, and the person doing my job 10 years ago made $16.87, and I make $19 today. So I would like to talk to you about the merit system for rewarding people for good work. So everyone at the health department has a science degree or a science background, which requires lots of debt, lots of time to accomplish this learning. Recently, we had maybe 6 of our staff members go from salaried professional people to hourly staff. This is something that we felt was a demotion, really, and we didn't feel valued at that. But the merit system that I mentioned to you, I think will reward those who work hard, those who get professional certifications. I have heard people from fleet management also mention that they get CDLs, they get additional certifications, and they are not paid more for going to those trainings. So to have my medical interpretation certification of 40 hours, and this is something I have used in my job, but it is something that I have not been rewarded for. But this merit system is something that we can all benefit from because it's a win-win. It's a win for the county. We get more people that are educated, more professional certifications, and people will be rewarded for this. So as I said, the reason why we come to work for the county is for the vision, the values, the mission, and the services we provide, but our people are struggling. And thank you for your care and your time.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, Samantha, if you would like, thank you, obviously, for being part of our Sedgwick County team. And it seems like I think you're doing good work and representing the services well. If you have something, I think you should hopefully feel free to suggest the merit system to your supervisor and you can include our human resources. We've spent the last 2 or 3 years doing a lot with reclassifications and a lot of salary adjustments and reclassifications, and so it's been kind of overwhelming for us all to look at all 40 plus departments and justify it. But if you've got, I don't recall that we've embraced a merit system in the past on any departments. Tom, do you have any?
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah, we've had pay performance in the past in the county system. It's
Okay.
been 4 or 5 years ago, but and we discuss it a lot.
right, okay, so it's in the discussion, and you just want to be respectful as you are, and let your supervisor and let them see if what HR could consider. So.
I'm certainly looking forward to those changes, and I hope those can be expedited.
Okay.
I have heard that we will get those bilingual pay soon, but
Right.
I always hear soon, so I certainly thank you for
Also, there's
suggesting
somebody else, Commissioner Lopez.
Thank you for being here and coming and bringing these ideas to us. We will start having these conversations again in February when we have our first retreat for the next year's budget. And I know that we've talked with Sheena and HR and really have asked to bring in some of those things like bilingual pay and shift differentials and stuff like that. So that is a big part of what we want to try to look at for next year's budget. Like Chairman said, we've been doing a lot of work over the last handful of years to make sure that we're trying to be as equitable as we can on how we're doing increases in pay. And, it took us a lot of years to get to the position that we were in, and unfortunately, it just wasn't something that we could fix in 1 year overnight. So, but this pay and making sure that we're doing what we need to do right by our staff has been, I know mine and probably the rest of our colleagues, just our top priority in the last couple of years, and will continue to be so going forward. So I hope you engage, when we start having that again in February, and like Chairman said, talk to your supervisor, we'll talk to HR, and we'll see what we can come up with.
Thank you very much. Have a good morning and happy Halloween.
Okay, thank you, Samantha. Okay, I don't see anybody else signed up for a public agenda, so I'll make a motion to receive and file.
Second.
Motion and a second. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Lopez.
Aye.
Commissioner Dennis.
Aye.
Commissioner Beatty.
Aye.
Commissioner Howell.
Aye.
Chairman Meitzner.
Aye. Next item, please.
Consideration of minutes. Item A, regular meeting minutes of October 4th, 2023.
Okay, Commissioners, if it's all right, I'd like to combine items A and B, which is the regular minutes of October 4th and October 11th. If you've had a chance to review and any corrections or adjustments, I don't see any, so I'll make a motion that we approve item A and B, which are the regular minutes of October 4th and October 11th.
Second.
Motion and a second. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Lopez.
Aye.
Commissioner Dennis.
Aye.
Commissioner Beatty.
Aye.
Commissioner Howell.
Aye.
Chairman Meitzner.
Aye. Next item, please.
Proclamations. Item C, proclamation declaring Red Ribbon Week.
Commissioners, I'm honored to present this. Commissioner Dennis and I talked, and as most of you know, I like to offer commissioners a chance to read proclamations, and Commissioner Dennis felt that it was appropriate that I read this one. And so, Sharon, I'm going to read this proclamation. And I got my tongue tied just on the last one. I said meeting minutes and, wed ribbon and all those. But anyway, I will do that right now. So, whereas communities across America have been plagued by the numerous problems associated with illicit drug use and those that traffic in them. Whereas there is hope in winning the war on drugs, and that hope lies in education and drug demand reduction, coupled with the hard work and determination of organizations such as the Wichita Metro Crime Commission to foster a healthy, drug-free lifestyle. Whereas governments and community leaders know that citizen support is one of the most effective tools in the efforts to reduce the use of illicit drugs in our communities, and whereas the red ribbon has been chosen as a symbol commemorating the work of Enrique Kiki Camarena, a Drug Enforcement Administration agent who was murdered in the line of duty and represents the belief that one person can make a difference. And whereas the Red Ribbon Campaign was established by Congress in 1988 to encourage a drug-free lifestyle and involvement in drug prevention and reduction efforts. And whereas October 23rd through October 31st has been designated National Red Ribbon Week, which encourages Americans to wear a red ribbon to show their support for a drug-free environment. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Chairman Peter F. Meitzner, and the Board of Sedgwick County Commissioners do hereby proclaim the week of October 23rd through 31st, 2023 as Red Ribbon Week, and urge all citizens to join us in this special observance. Commissioners, you've heard the proclamation. I'll make a motion that we approve.
I'd like to second that motion.
Okay, thank you. A motion and a second. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Lopez.
Aye.
Commissioner Dennis.
Aye.
Commissioner Beatty.
Aye.
Commissioner Howell.
Aye.
Chairman Meitzner.
Aye. And here to accept is the one and only Sharon Van Horn. Sharon, thanks for all you do with the Crime Commission, and thanks for allowing us to be a part of the Red Ribbon ceremony earlier this week. Commissioner Dennis was there, Commissioner Howell. I think the other two wanted to be there, but they had conflicts, but we were represented. So thank you.
Well, thank you all. We appreciate the partnership we have had with Sedgwick County over the last several years. I think we all recognize that education is primary in getting the message out to our kids. We all did dumb things when we were young, but now a kid can do a dumb thing. They can take a pill and die. So we must get that message out to parents and to the kids and to educators, and you have played a big role along with so many in the community in helping us do that. So thank you very much for the proclamation, and I'm sure we'll see you again next year.
Okay, hold on just a minute. Commissioner Dennis.
Well, Sharon, thank you very much for being here, and thanks for what you do. I want to make sure that the community knows the Crime Commission is really a nonpartisan commission of people that are dedicated to supporting our law enforcement professionals and also to helping our community heal from this drug problem that we have today. The issues with fentanyl, as you briefly mentioned, are critical today. We have children dying each day from fentanyl, or one little grain of fentanyl can kill a child. So somehow we need to expand that education, and I know that the Crime Commission is a vital part of that and doing an awful lot to help us with the education, to let the parents know, to talk to their children, to let the children know how critical that this crisis is today. So I'm very proud to be a member of the Crime Commission among a bunch of the other commissioners on this board that are also Crime Commission members. And thank you very much for what you do. I appreciate you very much.
Thank you. We appreciate you.
And Sharon, I think at that ceremony, there was a couple of things worth noting that maybe we could repeat. One is that U.S. Senator Roger Marshall has stated publicly a few times that there's about 300 deaths a day in the United States, and that's a crisis that if it was a equivalent of a plane crash every day, that there'd be some serious attention thrown at it. So we have a crisis. And the other comment I thought was real good was what Commissioner Dennis referring to as communication and education with the young people. And if we're not talking to them, as I said, somebody's talking to them, either in the parking lots or playgrounds or wherever they're hanging out. So if we're not talking to them, the bad guys are talking to them about it. So those are the two messages I picked up recently.
Yes,
that are pretty valuable.
and you know the amount of fentanyl in fake pills is only getting worse. A year ago, the DEA said 6 out of 10 pills had enough fentanyl in it to cause death, and that number is up to 7+. So if you take 10 pills and put them on a desk, 3 of them you may be able to take safely. The other 7 will kill you. And we have to let the kids know that. 1 pill can kill is not just a slogan. It is a fact of life, unfortunately. And parents really play an important role. And kids cannot buy fake pills, cannot take them from their friends and feel like there is any kind of safety for them. So again, we thank you. And education is the key to this. You're right.
Okay. Any other comments? I don't see any. Sharon, thanks again for all the work you do. Oh, yeah, you were going to have a little picture. We're going to come down. You want us down here? Okay. Okay, we're back. Madam Clerk, next item, please.
New business, item D, accept a donation in the amount of $1,000 for Sedgwick County EMS from the Williams Companies, Inc.
Okay, good morning. Kevin Lannerman is not here, but
yes,
he is represented in EMS.
Good morning, Commissioners. Brian Nicholas, EMS Deputy Chief. Chief Lannerman sends his regrets. He's a bit under the weather today, but I really appreciate the opportunity to accept this donation on behalf of the Williams Company. We're very appreciative they selected us as a recipient of their award. For a quick background, as a premier energy infrastructure company that handles clean burning natural gas used every day to heat homes, cook food, and generate electricity, one of our core values and beliefs is to support the community where its employees work and live. This is why, with great pleasure, Williams donates $1,000 to Sedgwick County EMS. And we're very appreciative. We're planning on using this to purchase some equipment for our DMSU, which is our Disaster Medical Support Unit. So once again, we're very appreciative of Williams Company.
Okay, thank you, Brian, for the presentation. Any questions or comments? I don't see any. Thank you to the Williams Company for sure. I make a motion that we accept and approve the item and authorize the chairman to sign.
Second.
Motion and a second. No other comments. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Lopez.
Aye.
Commissioner Dennis.
Aye.
Commissioner Beatty.
Aye.
Commissioner Howell.
Aye.
Chairman Meitzner.
Aye. Next item, please.
Item E, renewal agreement with Ascension Hospitals for ambulance and medical transportation services.
I think Brian is back. Good
Yes.
morning again.
Brian Nicholas, EMS Deputy Chief. This is an agreement, a renewal agreement with the Ascension Hospitals for interfacility transport by ambulance. We're appreciative of Ascension's willingness to negotiate with us on this, and it represents a 33% increase in fees over the previous contract, and recommend approval. Happy to stand for any questions.
Okay, are there any questions about this? Commissioner Dennis?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate it. And thanks for being here today. I want to express my gratitude to EMS for working diligently with Via Christi to make this happen. I know that you did a study that found out exactly what the cost is for EMS to be able to transport these patients between hospitals for Via Christi. They've been a great partner with us every step of the way. And what I understand is that this agreement is just what exactly it costs us. We had an outside agency, correct, that did the study, and so we know what the cost is for the county. Is that true?
That is correct. We had an independent audit of our department and came up with a break-even amount, and that was the basis for our fee schedule. And we think it's the correct approach to support our healthcare system without burdening the taxpayer, since we're operating at a break-even.
Absolutely. Via Christi is a nonprofit, but the fact is that with this agreement, and from what you told me, is that there is no cost to the taxpayers today. It's a wash right now.
That's correct, sir.
In addition, one other question as time goes on, things get a little bit more expensive. Is there some kind of renegotiation that is built into this agreement for the future?
There's terms in the contract to where we will continue to audit our agency, and rates can be adjusted based on the outcome of those audits.
Super. I appreciate that, because we know that costs go up, and we need to make sure that we stay up to that, because I don't want to burden the taxpayers for this event. My next question then, we have two large hospitals in Sedgwick County. We've got Via Christi and we've got Wesley. Can you tell me where we're at with Wesley?
Well, there has been some negotiation, but I really don't have any information to bring forward at this time. I'd probably defer to the counselor's office for any comment on that.
Okay.
Is Wesley today, are we transporting patients for Wesley today?
Yes, we do.
And is Wesley paying for those transports?
I don't have those numbers right in front of me. I'm happy to get them for you, though.
Okay. Well, I understand they're not paying for those transports. So not only is it a for-profit organization, and they are not paying anything for the transports. So I do not believe that Sedgwick County taxpayers should be subsidizing a for-profit corporation. We already just proved that a nonprofit, we're not subsidizing those. So I am very disappointed in Wesley. It's unfortunate they haven't been paying. I certainly hope that they do bring their bills up to date, and I sincerely hope that they enter into an agreement, because we know what it costs us, and we're not going to ask them to pay any more than what we're asking to recoup our costs. But I am very disappointed in Wesley.
Yes, sir. I appreciate your comments.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
And thanks to the Ascension Hospital organization for this, and for you guys for coming to an agreement that for the betterment of the community. Appreciate it very much. With that, I'll make a motion that we approve the agreement and authorize the chair to sign.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any other comments? Being none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Lopez.
Aye.
Commissioner Dennis.
Aye.
Commissioner Beatty.
Aye.
Commissioner Howell.
Aye.
Chairman Meitzner.
Aye. Thanks again, Brian.
Thank you.
Next item, please.
Item F, grant funding application for KDOC for $370,562.75 for Juvenile Detention Center Behavioral Health Services.
Good morning, Mario. Welcome to the meeting.
Good morning, Commissioners. Mario Salinas, Deputy Director of Juvenile Programs for the Department of Corrections. I'm here before you today for consideration of a new grant application in the amount of $370,562.75 from the Kansas Department of Corrections for the fiscal year 24 Juvenile Detention Center Behavioral Health Services funding. This grant is a result of House Bill 2021 that directs the Secretary of Corrections to ensure when a juvenile is placed in detention, the juvenile shall receive a standardized risk assessment, case plan, and behavioral mental health and or substance abuse treatment services if assessed as needing such treatment. The initial grant is for 6 months to close out state fiscal year 24, and that is January 1st, 2024 through June 30th of 2024. The fiscal year 24 Juvenile Detention Center Behavioral Health Services funding application provides KDOC funds to the juvenile detention facility for 2 ISO 2 care coordination FTEs that will complete the required risk needs assessment within that 72-hour time frame, and the case plan within 48 hours of such assessment. The grant also includes funding to contract with Seventh Direction Incorporated and ComCare to provide substance abuse mental health assessments and group individual sessions. The grant application includes fee for service costs for Seventh Direction and 4 FTEs for ComCare. The 4 FTEs include 3 integrated care specialist 3s and 1 clinician supervisor. On October 6th, the Juvenile Corrections Advisory Board Team Justice reviewed and approved this grant application. The recommended action today is to approve the submission of the grant application and authorize the following actions: acceptance of the grant if awarded, authorize the chairman to sign all necessary documents, approval to enter into contract with Seventh Direction and ComCare for services, establishment of budget authority until conclusion of the grant term, and authorize implementation of the staffing table changes identified in the personnel consideration sections of this request. We're asking that you approve this grant application and authorize the chair to sign, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, Mario, thank you. I know that you had briefed the commissioners one-on-one, and it was a very thorough briefing, which personally I appreciated and understand better the work that you all do and what this grant would accomplish. Maybe got a question from Commissioner Beatty.
Thank you, Chairman, and thank you, Mario, and your team. I'm very much in favor of the grant, and we'll vote to approve it. I'm curious, could you let the public know, are these incremental services that were not being done previously, or these positions were not previously filled in the juvenile services or the juvenile detention facility? And if these are incremental, what would you anticipate the outcomes, or what will this be providing for our juveniles that are in detention?
So essentially with House Bill 2021, it requires the Secretary of Corrections from KDOC to provide funding and services for youth in detention. Historically, KDOC has had nothing to do with our juvenile detention facility. That facility's licensed from Department of Children and Families and is funded through Sedgwick County funds. So this is an enhancement to those youth in our facility. At the same time, we want to make sure that we're not holding kids for any certain amount of time for extra types of treatment.
Prior to this, what behavioral health resources were we providing in regards to, I mean, I see obviously you have the integrated care specialists, mental health team supervisors. What was happening prior to this, or prior to this being implemented? What services were we providing, and what staff was doing that prior?
So historically, we have provided medical and mental health in-house, but that's more or less situational for the current duration while they're in there adjusting to the facility. If they're having some type of medical problem, they would receive services for that. This grant is specific to assessing them for mental health diagnosis and providing that group or individual treatment while they're in
Very good.
detention.
Well, I'm encouraged to know that these services will be provided for our juveniles in detention right now. And I encourage us as we continue to invest into the juvenile campus that's coming, that we continue to look at opportunities to reinforce exactly what this grant's going to do. So thanks, Mario.
Thank you.
Okay, with that, any other questions or comments? I don't see any. I'll make a motion that we approve the grant funding as presented.
Second.
Motion and a second. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Lopez.
Aye.
Commissioner Dennis.
Aye.
Commissioner Beatty.
Aye.
Commissioner Howell.
Aye.
Chairman Meitzner.
Aye. Thank you. And next item, please.
Item G, resolution approving the certification of assignment by the fence viewers of Grand River Township.
Okay. Good morning. Welcome to the meeting.
Good morning. I'm Tim Wagner with MABCD.
Hi, Tim.
Here to present with you the resolution that's brought before you currently is a certification assignment of the fence viewers of Grand River Township. The purpose of the viewing of the fence was to determine whether it was a partition fence and what portion thereof each property owner on each side of the fence was responsible for. In May of 2023, the applicant submitted a fence viewing request pursuant to KSA 29304. MABC was then assigned administrative duties for taking care of that application. June 30th, both parties were notified that there was a fence viewing request and that we were going to proceed with that viewing. July 13th, MABC was notified that they had not reached an impasse yet and they would like additional time to try to resolve the issue. MABCD granted 30 days to resolve that issue. They could not resolve that issue within that 30-day time frame. And then the fence viewing was scheduled with the viewers that were assigned by the commissioners. That fence viewing was conducted on September 15th. At that time, the fence viewers went out and walked the fence, came back and met, and their determination at that time was that it was indeed a partition fence and that both parties were to share equally in the maintenance of the fence. They assigned the applicant the north half of the fence and the adjoining owner the south half of the fence for maintenance requirements. So the resolution is to officially make that requirement and file, and at this time we recommend that action, that you approve the resolution.
Okay. Can I ask County Councilor Justin Wagner, can you comment on this? This is not a normal item that
certainly, Chairman. I think it's worth pointing out. I think it's been 17 years since the Board of County Commissioners had a fence viewing in front of it, so this is certainly not a normal occurrence. But there are a couple things I wanted to mention. I think before the board takes any action on this matter, I would suggest that each of you would disclose any ex parte contacts that you have in this matter, very similar to a zoning case, as this is a quasi-judicial setting that you're in. And then secondly, once you're done with that, I would suggest allowing the parties to make any comments, both parties in the fence viewing matter. Do you have any other questions, Chairman?
Okay, well, that's being a quasi-judicial, I agree with both of your suggestions, so I don't recall that I've had any ex parte conversations or emails. I may have, but I don't recall. I know I didn't engage with anybody.
And I would clarify a bit, Chairman. Ex parte doesn't include if you've talked with staff. Ex parte would include if you've talked with any of the parties or had any outside information about this outside the confines of your agenda or communicating with staff.
Right. I haven't had any other than public information. Commissioner Dennis?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Appreciate it. I do not recall having any ex parte contact with any of the parties that were involved in it. Of course, we each appointed someone to be our fence viewer, or we could do it ourselves, as Commissioner Howell did. This is a process that I learned about when I first became a commissioner, and I went to NACO KAC, and they started talking about fence viewing, and I never figured it would ever happen. But what I am very happy with is that under Commissioner Howell's leadership with the fence viewing, the process, I think, worked exactly the way it should have worked. So I appreciate that very much. And again, the only person that I honestly talked with was to ask the person that represented me whether or not that he would fulfill that position. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah. Commissioner Lopez?
Thank you. I have not had any outside of staff. Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Howell?
Thank you, Chairman. I have had correspondence, not from myself, but from one of the parties had extensive correspondence with our counselor, and I was CC'd on, I think, pretty much all of that correspondence. I believe I probably was, and so I read through that, but that is the extent of my ex parte communication. Thank you, sir.
Okay. And Commissioner Beatty?
Chairman, I've had no ex parte communication in this matter.
Okay. So with that, you've made your presentation. Any questions to is it Tim? Yeah. Any questions? Not at this time, Tim, but you want to stay handy in case we have some follow-up. Okay. At this time, we'll open the meeting for any comments regarding this item. Is there anybody from the audience want to address the commission on this item? Okay, going once, twice. Okay, so we will close the public comment and bring the item back to the bench. Any other considerations or comments? Okay, I don't.
Motion. You'll make a motion at the appropriate time, sir.
Okay. I will.
Thank you so much. I just want to say I want to appreciate our staff. I think that Tim Wagner just spoke. I think he's been excellent to bring this forward and explain the statutes. We had a counselor, legal folks there that explained the statutes, and I think that overall this was a great experience. I was glad to be a part of it, and we did go out, and just so everyone knows, we did go out and take a look at the fence. It's a distance out there. I believe it's a fairly long fence. We consider one of the first things we had to consider was this a partition fence, and even though it resides ever so slightly on one of the on one of the properties, is it a partition fence is really the question. And we came back and really, as we discussed that, it was very obvious to us that this was a partition fence. And the Kansas laws are very clear that the responsibility to maintain a partition fence is defined in statute. So our decision was really fairly simple. The question is, how do you divide that responsibility? And I got to thinking about if one side spent money and the other side didn't agree to spending money, it's going to get into very difficult. How do you transfer money from one neighbor to the other, especially if they have a difficult relationship? And I just think that the wisdom was to split the fence the other direction, the north and south, and it made a lot of sense to me. So I came up with that idea, and we discussed it at length, and I believe that was a good resolution, and it did pass the fence viewers unanimously. So I thought that was a reasonable solution. So there's no finances that have to be transmitted between the parties. They just simply have a responsibility to maintain their section of the fence, if you will. So anyway, I just want to say I appreciate the opportunity. Again, this hasn't been done in 17 years, and so the fact is this is another hat that the commissioners get to wear, or we can hand it to someone else as our designee. But I wanted to have the experience, and I think this has been a great experience, and I appreciate the fact that this is so well defined in Kansas law. And actually, it wasn't very difficult, I think, to do this. It's just a process we have to follow. And the resolution, I think, was actually very, very good, I thought. So, Mr. Chairman, I would be pleased to make a motion that we would approve this resolution, and it does contain the findings and recommendations of the fence viewers.
Okay, I will second that, but I think there's also comment. Commissioner Dennis.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was going to second it. It is in my district, but that's fine.
My apologies.
First of all, I want to thank Commissioner Howell and each of the fence viewers. This was a long process that they went through, and it was a brand new process. Like I said, haven't done it for 17 years. But not only the fence viewers, but legal, MABCD, our entire staff went above and beyond to make sure that they were as equitable as they could be, and making sure that this was something that we could memorialize. And as a matter of fact, once we vote on this, it is memorialized for the future. So again, my deep gratitude for everyone that was involved in this process, and I will vote in favor of it. Thank you.
Okay. I just make a quick comment. It is a historic, it goes back a century. I found out about the Red Bud Trail out in East Wichita, one of the property owners. And, the trains came through 150 years ago. And then, so properties were identified and then found out that, there's one acreage that was off by like 10 feet after it's officially surveyed. So there's things that happened generations ago, tree lines, fence lines, well-intended, and then it gets perfected as the technology comes around and accuracy comes around, and it could be off a few feet, it could be off as much as whatever. So that's what this is about. I just say that for the public understanding as well. So, okay, there's a motion and a second. Any other comments? Being none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Lopez.
Aye.
Commissioner Dennis.
Aye.
Commissioner Beatty.
Aye.
Commissioner Howell.
Aye.
Chairman Meitzner.
Aye. Thanks again, Tim, for all your work. Next item, please.
Item H, DER 2023-00004, amendment to the Old Town overlay to allow a tattoo and body piercing facility as a permitted use within the Old Town overlay district.
Okay. Good morning, Scott. Welcome to the meeting.
Good morning. Scott Wadle from the Planning Department. This item is an item to consider a text amendment to the Unified Zoning Code, specifically to the Old Town Overlay District, in order to allow, as you heard, tattooing and body piercing. This is generally a City of Wichita item that is being presented today because Wichita and Sedgwick County share a unified zoning code. In terms of the recommended action, it is recommended that the County Commission take the following actions listed on the slide and also in the staff report. In terms of existing conditions, the Delano overlay has been in place since the early 1990s. It prohibits tattooing and body piercing as a land use. A business providing tattooing opened in late 2022. The city received a complaint about it and so initiated zoning enforcement actions. However, following that, there was a series of discussions, which we'll talk about a little bit later in the presentation today, about what to do about that. Here's a map showing the outline of the Old Town Overlay District. So you can see it encompasses the majority of the area from 2nd Street to Douglas, Washington to the railroad tracks, but also some additional areas outside of that. So this is the areas where tattooing and body piercing are prohibited. Here's the actual text from the code. I know you can't read it, but I've highlighted the section for that overlay district, which explicitly prohibits tattooing and body piercing. In terms of the events, so again, the overlay was created in the late 1990s, in the early 1990s. You can see that the complaint was submitted in 2022. There have been a series of dialogues and discussions, especially with the Old Town Association, to collect their feedback. Members of the Old Town Association had expressed that they wanted to see the ability for tattooing to take place in Old Town, and that's really what's led the MAPC, I think, to the conclusion that they came to. In September of 2023, the City Council moved to adopt it. I would point out just briefly that the Planning Commission held a public hearing and voted 9 in favor, 1 opposed, and 1 abstained to approve the text amendment. 4 members of the public spoke on the item at that hearing. There was a second public hearing that the MAPC held due to publication requirements. That was held in September. At that meeting, there were no public comments, and the MAPC voted 12-0 to recommend approval of the changes. It was seen as, I believe, more of a procedural thing because there were no public comments at that second one. In terms of the recommendation, so again, the recommendation would allow tattooing and body piercing. There were some conditions that have been included at the recommendation and request of the Old Town Association, and those conditions are that the tattooing would be done by appointment only, and also that the tattoos and body piercing could not operate before 10 a.m. It must close before 10 p.m. And that primarily came from concerns about people congregating outside the tattoo locations, and also people going late after having enjoyed some of the other libations and activities in Old Town. So again, here are the recommended actions, and I'll stand for any questions.
Okay. Thank you, Scott. I know, again, we've had the commissioners have each been briefed in more detail, and we're able to ask some questions, and then I do see a question from Commissioner Beatty.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. Obviously, the City of Wichita, what they perceive this to be is an important aspect of how I'm perceiving our vote should be here today. I see the Planning Commission 12-0 vote. What City of Wichita City Council in September voted? What was that vote? Do you know offhand? I didn't see it in the minutes.
Oh, yes. So the city, how did the City Council vote? Was that the question?
Yeah.
It was unanimous at the
Unanimous
City
vote.
Council.
Okay, very helpful. Thank you.
Sure.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? I don't see any, so I'll make a motion that we approve the, as presented by the Director of Planning.
Second.
Motion and a second. No other comments. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Lopez.
Aye.
Commissioner Dennis.
Aye.
Commissioner Beatty.
Aye.
Commissioner Howe.
Aye.
Chairman Meitzner.
Aye. Thank you, Scott, and all the work. Next item, please.
Item I, selection of voting delegate and alternates for the Kansas Association of Counties 48th Annual Conference and Exhibition.
Okay. Mr. Wagner.
Morning, Chairman. Justin Wagner, County Councilor. On this particular item, it's the selection of the voting delegate and alternates for the Kansas Association of Counties Annual Conference, which is going to be in Wichita, December 5th through the 7th. I did want to clarify, I looked at their tentative agenda, and that actually the legislative item is slated for Tuesday, December 5th from 4:30 to 5:30. So in terms of calendar availability for commissioners, I wanted to mention that. I apologize for the late notice on that. But the Kansas Association of Counties has reached out and sought to have a delegate and then a first alternate and a second alternate. And the primary responsibility for this would be the KAC does come up with a legislative platform that the delegates will be able to vote upon. I'd be happy to stand for any questions. I believe before, and we've done this, I looked at the minutes from last year. It was just opened up in terms of who was going to be there, who had availability. I think there was a motion that had the action all in one thing, but you can do it however you see fit too.
Okay, and when is the important vote, you said?
Yes, it's Tuesday, December 5th from 4:30 to 5:30. Okay. I think most all of us are familiar with this, that we need to appoint a delegate, and I've had a brief conversation that Commissioner Lopez would be glad to serve on that, but Commissioner Howe.
Thank you, Chairman. I would also like to be considered as a delegate in this case. I'm going to have to appoint one delegate and two alternates. Is that correct? I believe
that's correct. You're supposed to appoint a delegate and then a first alternate and a second alternate.
Okay. And I believe there's a credentialing when you check in for that meeting that I believe that the county would only be afforded one vote. Depends on who shows up and is eventually credentialed in that check-in process. But anyway, one of my questions is, it is not clear to me whether or not that person voting is representing the will of the county commission. If we as a board are aware of their legislative agenda, are we able to have a staff meeting that day and essentially find a consensus, if you will, whether or not there is support for an affirmative vote or an opposition vote regarding the KAC? They have some things in the KAC agenda that is diametrically opposed to Sedgwick County's legislative agenda. And so in voting for that, I believe there is potentially a conflict where we are supporting one that's in conflict with supporting another. And I have concerns about that.
To your question, Commissioner Howe, I think that's up to the will of the board, if the board would wish to do that or if the board would wish to delegate that.
And we might even call it a special meeting if we have to. I think we ought to convene on Tuesday morning and have a brief discussion regarding their agenda and establish the will of this board. And I think that delegate ought to be responsible to vote in accordance with the will of the entire Board of County Commissioners, not just themselves. I think that's a better process. I know that seems uncomfortable, but at the end of the day, I have been advocating to the KAC leadership to not put things in there that I think are politically hot potatoes, that they ought to be advocating for county issues that are directly impacting counties and not dabble into things that may be considered outside our umbrella of responsibility that I think are hugely controversial. And unfortunately, they have continued to add those things to there. So I would like to advocate and continue to advocate that they would be a little more careful and filter their list. But in the extent that may not happen, I want to make sure that we have the will of our board is established that would hopefully, our delegate would do what is appropriate for the will of our board. So anyway, with that in mind, I would be glad to support any person among this board, amongst the 5 here that want to be a delegate. But the process, I think, needs to be that we would consider this a vote for the will of the BOCC, not the will of the individual member. That's all. Thank you, Chairman.
Okay. And looking at the calendar, there's maybe going to be a staff meeting anyway, the December 5th, and
yeah, I want to make sure it's December 5, and I heard an afternoon time. Is that correct?
That's correct.
We could have staff in the morning or special meeting, whatever the will of the
Special
commission.
meetings.
And I think by that time, I think we'll have, clearly the platform will be solidified by that time.
Do we get a visibility of the platform? When do we know that?
Chairman, I don't know for sure when that's.
Or
I mean, there's actually a meeting today on that with the KAC.
Okay.
I don't know when it's finalized, but I think that I don't believe there's any reason that that copy wouldn't be available
before
in time.
December 5th,
Yeah,
for sure.
Before December 5th.
I would imagine our lobbyist would know what KAC's agenda is.
All right, a couple other comments or questions. Commissioner Lopez.
Thank you. I was just going to say what we just mentioned, that we should get that prior to the day. And so I know those conferences are an all-day long thing, so I would hate to have to miss it just for something that we could have done like the week prior to. So that would be my only suggestion there, is that we could have that discussion well before the day of.
Good point. Mr. Wagner.
Thank you, Chairman. And I would, to that point, as soon as I can inquire as to when that's available and then distribute it to all the commissioners once KAC's put it together.
Okay, all right. And Commissioner Dennis.
I concur with both our attorney and with Commissioner Lopez. I don't know that the 5th would be a real good day to have a special meeting, because we'll probably be over in meetings at KAC. So we need to look at their calendar and see what the agenda is and then try and work it around that. Thank you.
Okay. I think we're in consensus that we'll meet sometime and respectful of the convention. I'll make a motion that unless there's that different feeling, I concur that Commissioner Lopez could be our delegate and Commissioner Howe would be first alternate. And since Commissioner Dennis has attended a lot of these and is going to attend the most of it, Commissioner Dennis would be the second alternate. So I'll make a motion for those three in that order. Okay. All right. Any other questions, comments? Being none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Lopez.
Aye.
Commissioner Dennis.
Aye.
Commissioner Beatty.
Aye.
Commissioner Howe.
Aye.
Chairman Meitzner.
Aye. Okay. Then we will find a date that after we get all going on. So it's kind of fluid. So
sounds good, Chairman. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Next item, please.
Item J, report of the Board of Bids and Contracts, regular meeting on October 19th, 2023.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Mr. Chairman and Commissioners, Britt Rosencutter, Purchasing Agent. The regular meeting of the Board of Bids and Contracts of October 19th, 2023 resulted in 3 items that we are seeking your approval. The first item is Media Monitoring Solutions Strategic Communications. Recommend to accept the quote from Meltwater News US Incorporated in the amount of $54,900 for a period of 3 years beginning November 27th, 2023, continuing through November 26th, 2026. Body-worn cameras and related products and services, Department of Corrections. Recommend to utilize the Omnia Partners Contract 3544-21-4615 with Axon Enterprise Incorporated in the amount of $251,463.54 for a period of 5 years with the possibility of 3 one-year options to renew. The last item is on-call mailing services, various departments. Recommend to accept the proposal from Mail Services LLC, doing business as Mail Communications Group, and establish contract pricing at the rates listed above for a period of 3 years with 2 one-year options to renew. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have, and I recommend approval of all items.
Okay, thank you for the work on that. Those are 3 kind of important items for our operations.
Yes, sir.
To serve our mission. Any questions about them? Okay, I don't see any questions, so I'll make a motion that we approve the recommendation of the Board of Bids and Contract.
I'd second that.
Motion and a second. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Lopez.
Aye.
Commissioner Dennis.
Aye.
Commissioner Beatty.
Aye.
Commissioner Howell.
Aye.
Chairman Meitzner.
Aye.
Thank you.
Next item, please.
Consent agenda.
Tom
Good
Stoltz.
morning, Chairman and Commission. Tom Stoltz, County Manager's Office, recommending approval of consent items K through V this morning.
Okay. Do any commissioners have any questions about consent items K through V? I don't see any, so I will make a motion that we approve consent items K through V as in Victor.
Second.
Motion and a second. Being no questions, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Lopez.
Aye.
Commissioner Dennis.
Aye.
Commissioner Beatty.
Aye.
Commissioner Howell.
Aye.
Chairman Meitzner.
Aye. Okay, we'll recess the Board of County Commissioner meeting, and so we will call to order the governing body of Fire District Number 1. Madam Clerk, next item, please.
Roll call. Commissioner Lopez.
Present.
Commissioner Dennis.
Present.
Commissioner Beatty.
Present.
Commissioner Howell.
Present.
Chairman Meitzner.
Present. Next item, please.
Public agenda.
Commissioners, we've had 2 people sign up for public agenda, and so you can address the commission at this time. The first one to address us is Carl Emery.
Yep.
Apologize for the name. It's probably happened before, hasn't it? Okay. Carl, traditionally we have it's a 5-minute addressing name and address, and you have 5 minutes unless if there's feedback from the commission, then obviously it extends longer. So
Okay.
Thank you. Welcome to the meeting.
Thank you. Carl Ammerine, 9002 East 87th Street, South Derby, Kansas. I'm a resident of District 5, and I'm a homeowner within the rural portions of the Fire District. I serve as the chairman of the Fire District 1 Steering Council. At our most recent meeting last Thursday, which was our 4th meeting, it was a unanimous will of the council to authorize my signature on a letter to the Fire Board in support of readoption of the Kansas Public Employer Relations Act, known as PARA, as soon as practicable. All Fire Board members and the clerk should have a copy of this letter for the record. I believe Chief Nelson's handed that out. With that formality complete, I'll now address the Fire Board with my own personal public comments. So these are my own personal comments. I've been a resident of the Fire District since 2015, but honestly, my personal knowledge about the Fire District would have been very little. I would compare it to knowledge that you would have of your local township board or cemetery board, which is little. I know very little about the situation that occurred in 2016, which resulted in the Fire Board's decision to end PARA. I've heard information that there was a genuine concern that the Fire District would be financially insolvent unless certain actions were taken, such as ending collective bargaining rights of the district's firefighters. My own personal principles are based on the teachings in Romans 13, so I recognize that the Fire Board is a governing authority that is due honor and respect. Therefore, I won't pass judgment or express criticism for an elected board making decisions that they felt were in the best interest of the Fire District's residents back then. My personal interest in following Sedgwick County government began personally due to the mask mandates. I stayed interested and continue to watch county government meetings due to several factors, but one of the factors was actually Commissioner Howell, which is my commissioner's passion for the Fire District. I remember watching online and was moved by the presentation from the firefighters on their for action. There was basically a call to action to address concerns within the district, and some of those firefighters right back there I remember watching online. I was deeply encouraged by the Fire Board's decisions last year and also this year in passing pay increases and step plan implementation for the firefighters. The progress within the Fire District is commendable, and the Fire Board's stewardship is admirable. I believe I've watched every public Fire Board meeting for a while now. In my opinion, any accusation that this Fire Board does not have the Fire District's residents and the Fire District employees' best interests at heart would not be judging those public meetings fairly. At our most recent steering council meeting, we had a discussion about advanced care provider pay. And I asked a firefighter who was present why he maintained a certification without incentive pay, which is what we were talking about. And his response was because he got tired of standing by, unable to help someone in need because of a lack of a certification. He wanted to do something about it. I was also blessed with the opportunity to visit Station 36, which is my local station, this past Monday morning. I participated in a roundtable discussion with Station 36 C shift and A shift firefighters, and also Chief Williams and Deputy Chief Nelson were there as well. I listened firsthand to the selfless service and commitment the fire district's firefighters have to our communities. I saw 2 firefighters quickly dressing as clowns and rushing off to spend the morning at Oak Lawn and Cooper elementary schools to teach fire prevention. And that does take some commitment to the community to dress as a clown. My little bit of exposure to life in a station, it's just a little bit, convinced me that our greatest assets is not the brick and mortar or the expensive apparatus, but it's the people that serve. In my personal assessment during the short time the steering council has existed, it's apparent that the firefighters support their union leadership and the firefighters strongly desire recognition. The vote in this letter, in my opinion, is not a criticism of past decisions, but the council's support of the firefighters. I applaud the actions of this fire board to increase pay off debt, and establish the steering council. I recognize that a decision to proceed with collective bargaining should not be taken lightly by this fire board. I'm encouraged and looking forward to great things that the fire board, steering council, and employees of the fire district can accomplish together. To each of the fire board members and employees of the fire district, thank you for your service to our community and the residents of the fire district. I'm humbled to do my own small part, and it's a very small part in service. And that concludes my public comments. And I'll stand for any questions if you have any.
Okay, Commissioner Howell.
Thank you, Chairman. I just want to ask you, Mr. Emery, thank you for being here. I'm sure I'll have some comments and questions in just a moment. I do want to make sure you don't go too far. I'd like to hear from the next speaker, but I have no doubt I'm going to have some questions and comments, and so please stand by, and thank you for your comments thus far.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? I don't see any. Next up to address us is Mr. Casey Ingalls. I think you know the rules, Casey. Name and address in 5 minutes. Welcome to the meeting.
Sir, Casey Ingalls, Sedgwick County firefighter, local 2612 president, 10914 West Bristlecone, Wichita, Kansas. I just wanted to have the opportunity today to thank Mr. Amrine for being here. Thank the steering council for making the recommendation that they made. I would like to address some other things. Over the past couple months, it's taken a while to educate. We've had to start from the beginning. We've had to do a lot of education to explain why we're at where we're at. A couple months, I believe it was the September meeting, we gave a presentation at this last meeting. I don't think we even spoke at this last meeting, but the presentation was to give a history lesson of why we're at where we're at. The intent was to simply provide a history lesson only, not to point fingers. And in fact, I believe not everything that was shown in the presentation, we did address some other things. Outside of that was taking responsibility for our own actions, which we've done several times with them. We're past the point of finger pointing. We're pretty much over that. We want to move forward. We want to address things going forward. Some of the things that we talked about was a separate letter that I sent all the steering council members in addressing. I just want to say some of the things that I pointed out in there is that we've recognized many times over the history lesson of where we came from and what happened. I think everybody knows what's happened, and we're ready to move on from that. And I've said that many times. I've said this to the steering council meeting. We're ready to move on. There's new leadership across all the aforementioned parties, including our own. Our basic goals moving forward are to take care of the citizens by taking care of the rank and file and SCFD1, maintaining our employees' retention, professionally work with all parties to ensure fiscal responsibility of the fire district, maintaining fair wages, benefits, working conditions, operational standards of the fire service. Believe this or not, we want to help you lower the mill levy by improving operational efficiencies and deficiencies. This is all stuff that we presented to the steering council. So the benefits, the pros and cons of recognition, we've gone over several times. We recognize that not everybody might be on board with recognizing the union. But I will say, and I mentioned this too, not only Mr. Amaran, but the rest of the steering council, that to put it, I guess we're a little unorthodox when you compare us to other unions. We're not like other unions. We tried to establish something to where we're not lumped in with other unions and how they act and how they proceed with, with their duties and with their responsibilities. We're trying to change things on how people perceive unions, and we're trying to do it in a positive way. So that's really all I have to say on that. I just wanted to express that outside of a presentation that was put on a PowerPoint, there was more talked about and there's more to the story. So other than just finger pointing, which we're past the finger pointing stage and we're ready to move on. So ready for any questions.
Commissioner Howell?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't even really know where to begin, but I'd like to state up front that public safety, I think, is every elected official's number one priority. And I have asked a lot of elected officials, what's your number one priority? And that's almost unanimously the answer I hear. And I would agree with that. Public safety is our number one. If you don't have public safety, then you're not serving the people. And I think when they provide tax dollars to the government, that's exactly what they want. They want that number one. And I think there's a lot of opportunities in certain parts of our local government, not necessarily Sedgwick County, but I can see some issues in the community that I think need to be addressed better by other governing bodies. But having said that, let me just state up front, I love our public safety officers, the folks that provide EMS services, the folks that provide fire protection services, our 911 folks. And on it goes. Let's not forget our sheriff's deputies, and both in the jail and on the streets. I really appreciate them. They are my number one priority as an elected official, and I want to do the very best I can to pay them as good as I can, with a balance of the taxpayer. We want to make sure we provide just enough, and recognize and show appreciation to those people that are providing those services. But we have to do so efficiently and effectively, and we have to be careful not to get out of balance, because the people that we serve, they're very aware of what it costs, and we have to make sure we maintain that balance. And so I would tell you, I'm the only commissioner here that was here back in 2016. I think Commissioner Dennis was in the audience and listened in. He was here, I believe, when the union was finally the finality of that. I believe that final vote, you probably were here on the bench, right? So, but the initiation of that, I was the only commissioner here at the time. Why did we go down that path? We went down that path, number one, because we were insolvent. And I can tell you that the only communications I was really able to have with anybody in the fire district was very, very conflicted. They were never good meetings. We had to meet in an executive session. We had attorneys present. It was very conflicted. And I did not like the way that was done. And by the way, going through that entire process, my name was lambasted in this community by the fire union, by name. I can tell you that it was, in my personal opinion, that was unfair. And I don't want to go through that again. And I'll just say, Mr. Ingalls, you are a tremendous leader. And I love you and appreciate you personally. Thank you for what you do. You're not going to be here forever. And the next person might come up here might be like your predecessor. And that's one of my concerns, is that I think that your spirit of having a better relationship with the governing board is wonderful. But I can't say the future will be someone that has a spirit like you do. That your predecessor, my personal opinion, was a lot of the problem that we had. In fact, you recognize that you even say in your PowerPoint that the membership went down to 32 members. How many firefighters do you have that are eligible to be in the union right now?
Eligible, or do we have that?
I know you have 115, but how many are eligible?
115 out of roughly 125.
So it's about 95%, 90% participation. And back then it was 32.
Yeah.
And I have to say, I think the leadership that came to negotiate with the commission at the time was they did not have the best interest. You described the best interest in the taxpayers and the people that we serve. I think the mission back then was much different. And so we've gone through a very difficult time. But let me just remind you, and I would like to hear your comments as well. But I tried to contact you yesterday by phone, have a personal conversation. You and I have sat down one-on-one and had numerous discussions. I have visited you in your workplace. I got to do a ride-out with other members of your team and experience what they go through on a daily basis in a small way. Okay. You and I have worked especially close together the last few years. And where have we come from? I mean, I can tell you that had the union been in place during the last few years, we would not have had any of those conversations. We would have had to do it in a formal fashion. But because I could understand on a personal level exactly what you were dealing with, I can make that phone call, I can make that text, I can sit with you and have a cup of coffee. We have built a relationship which I don't want to underestimate. And the idea that we can have a union and then have that type of relationship is just not possible. So where have we come? We've had 2 significant pay adjustments in the last 2 years. One of those was adopted just in the middle of August, literally about 6 weeks before this vote was taken by the steering council. We have changed the way that you're paid from HR's perspective so that you get better overtime pay. Right? That was a huge win, I thought. And I think that our staff supported that, by the way. We got you back on a step plan, which I thought was something that was reasonable. And I think that has been an item of contention in the past. That was one of our things we tried to do when we went into merit pay. It was mentioned earlier by a previous speaker today. The fire union employees during that time were given the same raises that every other employee was getting. Manager Stoltz, can you validate that comment I just made? The firefighters during the time from 2011 through today, again, the last 2 years, the fire district employees had special considerations given in their pay plans, but between 2011 and 2021, they were given the same pay raises of other county employees. Is that correct, sir?
Yes.
So the idea that there was no pay raises is not accurate. I don't think it was enough. Okay, and I think that you were underpaid for what you guys provide, and so that's why I advocated for a pay adjustment in 2022 as well as 2023, and those are permanent increases. In addition to that, we created the Fire Steering Council with the idea that we have to have taxation with representation, not without, and that's what we had before. The history of Sedgwick County Commissioners, a majority of commissioners who sit on these benches, don't pay fire district taxes, and I think it's a violation of the Constitution. So we want to create a steering council to hopefully represent, if you will, the best interests of those that are being served by the fire district and pay those taxes. By the way, we all benefit from the fire district, not just those folks that are paying the taxes. We also benefit because there's mutual aid agreements, and you guys come into the cities, if you will, and provide services there too. You talked about the advanced life-saving skills that are provided by some firefighters that have additional credentials. I think that's something we should recognize. I'd like to have that discussion. I think the steering council should consider that as something that I think is important to encourage those to have those higher skills. Why is that? Because our system of first responder care says that you're almost always guaranteed to get a firefighter before you get an ambulance. Not because our ambulances aren't doing great work. They are. But we have, in the county, we've got 40 fire stations. If you add up the number of personnel in all those fire stations 24/7, it's a lot of people available to respond. And whereas we have, sometimes 15, 16, 17, 20 trucks, ambulances on the streets, and they're busy. They're going from call to call. So at the end of the day, we depend on firefighters to provide that life-saving skills. And we want them to have the best skills. So I want to encourage that. I think that's a great topic. So we've made a lot of advances because the union didn't stand in the way. That relationship caused those to happen. And where are we going in the future? I talked to Carl last night. We had a conversation. I don't think he was aware of this. Maybe he was. You watched the meetings. Maybe you did know because you watched all of our meetings. I've talked about my personal plan, and I hope the commissioners would agree at some point to transition the steering council to a board of trustees. The state of Kansas creates an option for a board of trustees as a better way to do this. I think the steering council will step in that direction, which is why there's 9 members on the steering council, because it gives us the chance to convert that to a board of trustees. And then ultimately, my goal would be to have a conversation with the state legislature. By paying off debt, it sets us up to have a conversation with the state legislature to move this toward an elected fire board, which is the ultimate solution. And if at that time the elected fire board wants to consider a unionization of their members, I think that's an appropriate time to bring that up. I didn't even talk about the administrative services. We're talking about saving potentially $1 million a year or something around that number by doing an administrative change from Sedgwick County to a third party that would provide those administrative services. That, in my opinion, is a great topic for the steering council. So we've made huge advances, and I hope you agree that it's been tremendous. And we have vision for how it's going to get better. We have to continue working together. If we have a union, this entire thing is derailed, in my personal opinion. We're not going to make any more advances because we go back to the days where we have to meet in executive session and there's nothing but contention back and forth. And some of those contracts, by the way, that we offered, if I understand correctly, many of the members of the Local 2612 actually did support the contract, but the leadership would not allow that to be to move forward, if you will. So I'm even questioning the fact that I think that sometimes we did our best job to negotiate in good faith a good contract that we could afford. And the attitude by the leadership was, frankly, if you have to raise taxes, that's your problem. We demand, if you will, more. And there was not any consideration given to the fiscal challenges we were dealing with. When I arrived here in 2015, I can't speak about the fire budget, but the county commission budget was $8 million underwater. Very first year I was here. And the projections on the fire district were they went into the red very quickly. And we had almost emergency meetings trying to figure out how to solve that problem. So having said all that, my experience from before was horrible. My experience today has been tremendous. And we are moving forward, doing a lot of wonderful things. And some of the narrative in the PowerPoint that says there was no raises for all those years, it's just not the total truth here. There were raises. It just wasn't different than what other county employees had. So I've said quite a bit. I'll give you a chance to comment. I have a couple of other specific questions in just a moment. I'd like to give you a chance to comment back because I've said quite a bit.
So I appreciate, and on behalf of all the firefighters, I think we've all appreciated everything that's been done over the last couple of years. I know it's been very rough. It's been a very rocky road that we've gone down, and we do appreciate everything that you have been able to help get accomplished, along with other people along the way that have helped with that. I was trying to keep track with all that and make comment. I will say in that presentation, I don't think I stated that we never got a raise. I think I stated year by year what we received in that year. Now there were several years where we went under contract where we did vote for that contract where we did not receive a raise. So we did that to ourselves. But I do believe I went through year by year and stated a percentage or if it was a non-compounding bonus that was added on, which coincides with what everybody else in the county got. So I do believe that information should be accurate that's in there. But with due respect to everything that you've done to us and everything that we've gotten accomplished, I do believe that the fire district is in a state now where we have established a step plan and our future does look good. We do feel like we are in a good place right now when it comes to compensation and pay. And like I said, with due respect to you, you have a hard job. All the commissioners have a hard job to manage all the departments that you do. And to have to go through each year and fight for our pay each year, we don't feel like that should fall on your plate, on anybody's plate up here. And that's where we believe the negotiations, and I know you have a bad history with that, and that's where we've tried to show where we are not the same as we were 7, 8 years ago or 10 years ago or however long ago. We are moving forward. We've learned from our mistakes. And that's what we really want to push forward is we've learned from our mistakes and we're trying to right the course for our future. So that's where I stand on it. I would say with future negotiations, it's not like we're trying to break the bank and go for more and more and more. It's a guarantee that it gives our firefighters. It's that guarantee that they would like to see, year to year. If you're in a 2 or 3 year contract, what steps you're going to get for those years. And I know it's we can say all day long that we're going to get it next year, but we're just one more, crisis away from it not happening. And something going backwards. And so that's what the contract guarantees, is that those policies, benefits, policies, and compensation are guarantees. And that's the purpose behind having a contract and being recognized.
May I continue for just a moment?
Yes, and then, will you make a quick, we need to receive and file, and we're not going to solve this today.
I understand that. So,
okay, go ahead.
I apologize. I know that was long, but I think that I appreciate the grace, Mr. Chairman. There was there's a lot of statements in here that I'm concerned about, but one of the statements in your PowerPoint says that 2011 would be the last year that Sedgwick County Fire Department firefighters and lieutenants receive a compensation raise for 11 years. That's factually not true. And there's other things in there I could pick apart as well, but that's just one of the points. At the end of the day, and by the way, I'm aware, even with what we did here in 2023 for your next year's wages, are not going to go down, they're going to go up, okay? In the future, at some point. I'm aware that we still have compensation challenges. And again, my next thing, in addition to some of the other things I already mentioned, would be to potentially in the next year or two to discuss with everybody how to maybe to address the compensation things that still exist. At the end of the day, I'm going to do everything I can to fight for you guys. I don't think the union solution is going to make that any better. In fact, I think it's going to make it a lot worse. And I think it does derail our vision for how to make this thing really good going forward. So I just want to end my conversation and say, I wish that the steering council would have had the PowerPoint vetted by county staff. You should invite, if you will, commissioners. Here's one of the problems is our staff, because essentially you may not like this, Manager Stoltz, but the way the org chart's designed, your chief works directly for the commission. And so in a sense, all the support staff that he has, they don't have a reason to necessarily negotiate, to offer an opinion on what they think should happen. They're there to serve. And at the end of the day, we need someone there that can provide some opinion on where we're going and why. And at the end of the day, I think the steering council unfortunately didn't have all the information there. So that vote that they took, by the way, was led by someone who I have concerns about the person that made the motion. It happened very quickly last Thursday, right after the meeting was convened. The motion came right out of the box with no discussion. I think there was a lot of pressure on the other members to vote that way, and I believe with his connection with his employer that he may not even be qualified to be on the steering council. I'd like to ask the counselor and a manager to please review that. But having said that, I don't think the process was a great process. I think what we ought to do is be very thoughtful and inclusive and get as much data as we possibly can and then make the best decisions, by the way, after public input. The steering council needs to hear from their constituents too. So again, the process, I think, wasn't the best process to bring us this letter today. I would encourage us to take a step backwards. Please know I'm not against anybody in the fire department or the fire district. I have your best interest in mind, and I have fought for you in the past. I'll continue fighting for you in the future. Thank you, Chairman.
Okay. Commissioner Lopez.
Thank you. I just have a couple of quick comments, and then I agree that this topic is such a complex conversation that it's not going to be resolved right now in this meeting. And so I would like us just to receive and file these public comments and then direct staff to kind of look into this a little bit further and see what that even looks like, and then before we can vote on anything and have a true understanding. I do want to just comment on a couple of things that were mentioned. While we have gotten a lot done for fire in the last couple of years, and I'm really grateful that we've been able to do that, having one commissioner going and working with you guys is conflicting for me, because I don't feel like when some of these things were brought to us last minute, they were vetted professionally by our staff. And so we didn't understand everything, all the things that come after, right? Like when we had something brought to us a couple of years ago in budget right at the end, well, this year we had to go in and fix that, which cost us and our taxpayers over $1 million to fix. And so I think there's just a better way of doing things. And if we look at unionizing versus not, we kind of recognize you guys as a union. We kind of don't. sometimes we work with Doug, which is the way we're supposed to. Sometimes we go and we work with Casey and the union, and it's not a great way to do that. And so I think there's better ways that we can lead from here and help with fire. And I just think that, like I said, it's just a bigger conversation that needs to happen and not one that's going to happen now. I am in agreement, and I appreciate everything that has been brought up today. I think everybody up here knows that I agree that we should reunionize our fire. I don't think that's a secret, but I just think that we're just not ready to have a vote by any means today on it. Thank you.
Okay.
And I can make a motion that we receive and file the public comments today.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Commissioner Howell.
Thank you, Chairman. I will be voting for the motion, of course, but I feel like I have to respond because I continue to put up with this criticism, the false narrative that this was sprung on everybody at the last possible minute. That's just absolutely not true. 2 years ago, I worked with staff. I think that for some reason, I don't think I didn't get the response from staff. I think that we could have prepared, if you will, an alternate pay plan at that time, but we went down the path we were on. But here's the deal. We worked for a very long time to get that in front of commissioners and in front of staff. It wasn't sprung on people at the last possible minute. And this last year, I have to remind my colleagues once again, I even left a situation where I was having surgery to attend a staff meeting a month before the budget adoption to make sure that this was presented for commissioners to consider. And by the way, staff had plenty of time to vet all that this year, and they did. And the staff came back with completely analyzed data. That thank you for HR for all the work that they did. Completely analyzed data. So when we had a chance to consider the alternate pay plan that was presented on the adoption day last year, or actually I guess it was this year, we had all the data we needed. So this idea, in my opinion, a false narrative that we're doing this last possible minute and no one had any idea what was going to happen is just completely not true. Thank you, Chairman.
Okay, there's a motion and a second to receive and file. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Lopez.
Aye.
Commissioner Dennis.
Aye.
Commissioner Beatty.
Aye.
Commissioner Howell. Chairman Meitzner.
Aye. Thank you. Next item, please.
Consideration of minutes. Item A, fire meeting minutes of October 11th, 2023.
Commissioners received a copy of the fire minutes of October 11th. Any additions or corrections? I don't see any. I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of October 11th.
Second.
Motion and a second. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Lopez.
Aye.
Commissioner Dennis.
Aye.
Commissioner Beatty.
Aye.
Commissioner Howell.
Aye.
Chairman Meitzner.
Aye. Next item, please.
New business. Item B, report of the Board of Bids and Contracts, regular meeting on October 19th, 2023.
Good morning again.
Hey, thanks for having me back. Britt Rosencutter, Purchasing Agent. The regular meeting of the Board of Bids and Contracts for Sedgwick County Fire Department, Fire District Number 1 of October 19th, 2023 resulted in one item that we are seeking your approval. The item is 2 current model 4-wheel drive crew cab trucks with topper. The recommendation is to accept the low responsive bid from Rusty Eck Ford Incorporated in the amount of $150,974. And I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
All right. Any questions about the Board of Bids? I don't see any, so I will make a motion that we approve the recommendation of the Board of Bids and Contracts.
Second.
Motion and a second. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Lopez.
Aye.
Commissioner Dennis.
Aye.
Commissioner Beatty.
Aye.
Commissioner Howell.
Aye.
Chairman Meitzner.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item, please.
Other.
Does anybody have anything under other for the fire district at this time? I don't see any. Next item.
Executive session.
We do not have an executive session. If there's anything else coming before the fire district, I don't see any, so we will adjourn the fire district and we'll return back to the regular meeting of the Board of County Commissioners. Next item, please.
Committee reports.
Committee reports. Does anybody have anything to report on their committees they serve on? Commissioner Dennis.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate it. Yesterday afternoon, we had the Zoo Board meeting. I am very pleased to say that during Zubilee, they had 6,296 people attend Zubilee. It's a record of the number of folks there. Also, speaking about the zoo, remember Wild Lights are going on now. Make sure you get your tickets for Wild Lights and go over and see that. It's a completely different Alice in Wonderland. The other thing that was very interesting in the meeting that we had yesterday is that they're looking, you remember several years ago, 6 or 8 years ago, we got 6 elephants in, which was very exciting. Now 3 of those elephants are pregnant. And as a result, they're looking for the future of what's going to happen with the zoo and how you manage the herd overall here in the United States. So what they're looking at is in the next 10 years, our herd could increase from 8, where we're at today, to 22. So that means a little bit of a changes in the zoo that we're going to have to look at. First of all, we're going to have to baby-proof the zoo because the little bitty elephants can get through some of the fencing that we have in place today. So there are some changes going to be happening in the zoo as a result of that increase. In addition, you have to look at the population across the United States and where that we may have to move elephants from one zoo to another in order to maintain an adequate population here in the United States. So I think it's very exciting what's happening at the zoo, and I am very pleased to provide those pieces of information. Another thing that I'd like to talk about today is that yet this afternoon I'm going to go to the last meeting on the Veterans Day Parade that we're going to be having on November the 11th. So we want to make sure that all the veterans are aware that on Veterans Day itself this year, 9/11 at 11 o'clock in the morning, we're going to have a Veterans Day Parade down Main Street. It'll go across and then back up McLean and end up at Exploration Place. And I want to thank Exploration Place for hosting us this year. There's going to be a lot of things that are going on at Exploration Place at the end. So just the fact that the parade ends there, it doesn't mean that the events are going to end, especially for all of our veterans. Veterans and their family are going to get into Exploration Place for free. So I want to thank Exploration Place for that. In addition, we've got a register of deeds there. Any veteran that does not have any kind of an ID that indicates that they are a veteran, they will be putting out, bring your DD-214, and they'll file it for you. They'll give you back 5 certified copies of the DD-214, and they'll give you an ID card. It's an official government ID card that says that you are a veteran so that you can get discounts. They just changed the ID card, and I just got mine on Monday. And they've added Space Force to the front, and on the back there is now a QR code that you can take with a picture, and you can see all of the businesses that give veterans discounts for using those. So I thank the Register of Deeds for all of that work. In addition, on November the 9th is an event that I always attend, but this year I won't be able to because I'll be serving on a selection board for the Air Force Academy. But over at Century 2 on November the 9th is going to be a formal military parade. So anyone that's never seen a formal military parade, it is very, very impressive. They've got 2,500 cadets that are going to march honoring all of our veterans that day. Commissioner Howell will represent me, and he will present the proclamation. And as a matter of fact, on November 1st, we'll have JROTC here, and we will have a proclamation at that time for all of the events that are going to happen. And I appreciate Commissioner Howell normally we're the 2 veterans on this commission. Normally I present that proclamation during that, and I want to thank him. So veterans, make sure that you come on November 9th to Century 2, on November 11th to the Veterans Day Parade. If you need any further information, please let me know. We've got our last meeting to make sure that the parade's ready here at noon, so I'm very happy that we're moving forward with that. Last thing is we have Laura Rainwater, Commissioner Rainwater in the audience, so make sure you get out to vote. I did vote earlier this week, and I want to make sure that everyone else takes the advantage of that. That's why that we have veterans, is to ensure that you have the freedom to do that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Good information. Commissioner Lopez.
Thank Thank you. I just have a few different things. I passed out some paperwork to all commissioners. We had our 18-month community task force review last night. There was a lot of really good discussion around the 24/7 mobile crisis units. Steve Stonehouse talked about the new juvenile campus that we've kind of been working towards, and so just a lot of really good discussion. All of that you can watch online. It was all streamed, but the paperwork that was given to everybody with updates on all of the recommendations that the task force gave, I brought to each commissioner just so you can have a better idea of where some of that's at. Last night was Hispanic Chamber had a meeting, I guess you could say as a trick or boozeness. It was what it was called. It's just a really great way to promote some Hispanic businesses in the community and with a Halloween theme. So that was fun. There was a Halloween dress-up contest and all the things. One thing that a committee that I'm on is the Hayesville Education Foundation. November 17th, we're having the first, hopefully annual fundraiser to make sure that we're promoting teacher innovation within the classrooms and then helping kids get different education experiences outside of just the classroom environment. That's November 17th at the Union Stockyards. The Wagon Masters are cooking. Freddy's Frozen Custard will be doing the dessert. There's going to be lots of activities, including cow patty bingo, which I've never done before, so I'm excited to experience that for the first time. So just a few things on some committees that I'm working on. Thank you.
Okay. Can't wait. Taking videos?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Commissioner Beatty.
Thank you, Chairman. I don't have anything as exciting as cow patty bingo, but I would like to share some updates from the Homelessness Task Force. I'm the one of two elected members alongside Councilmember Diana Ballard from the City of Wichita. There's been a lot of conversation in the community about the topic of homelessness, and it was spurred by the emerging conversation of the lack of enough beds for the winter shelter in the crisis. So these conversations are ongoing. We're working on in the Homelessness Task Force many of these conversations about not just a 6-month plan, an 18-month plan, but the long-term community plan. But I wanted to mention two specific things that we've done here recently, and I want to give public thanks to my colleagues. We've done a legislative roundtable. Commissioner Howe, Commissioner Dennis, Commissioner Lopez, Chairman Meitzner have all played a role in this, to where we've actually brought the legislators in here at the county and hosted them so that we can enlarge the conversation around this topic. What I don't want to happen is I don't want people in this community to think that this topic of homelessness, housing insecurity, things that are impacting our folks, our neighbors in this community is just a City of Wichita problem or just a nonprofit world problem, that this is a community conversation. Is we're going to have to engage local government, state government, for creative solutions. We're going to have to engage the nonprofit community, the faith community, the business community. This is a conversation that has to happen more comprehensive and collective. And so I want to appreciate those that have taken part in that legislative roundtable and those that have helped organize. I think they're helpful to engage our legislators into this topic. And then last week, we also had the Wichita Business Journal hosted a forum at KLC where they brought in a national speaker, Julia Orlando. The place was packed. The room was packed on this conversation. We had a panel discussion. So I sum all this up by just saying I'm grateful that we're having this conversation the way we are right now. I think it's important. I think we've got to define the economic impact of not doing something and continuing the way we are, or investing in services as a community. And these are conversations that are happening. So I want to publicly thank my colleagues and the staff here at Sedgwick County, those on the Homelessness Task Force for bringing the awareness of this situation to our community. And I'd also like to thank those nonprofits that are working in this space, and because it is complex. If you could pull a lever and solve this problem, I think somebody a lot smarter than us would have done it a long time ago. It is complex, and there's a lot of very smart, very compassionate people that are involved in this space. So thank you guys for being a part in these conversations, and we'll continue them as we go.
Okay, thank you, and thanks for your leadership on this endeavor. It's a large mountain that we're climbing. And then also thank you for the commissioners that attended the local KDOC console last week. Large crowd there, and broke up into those things. Last night, KDOT had this similar, just basically duplicated what we saw last week on a statewide online deal, and they even had an electronic way to breakout sessions. but there's only about, I think I saw about 110 people had signed, were online. So it wasn't that big, but my hat's off to KDOC for a tremendous outreach by region and statewide, and they're a good partner. They're a good partner with WAMPO, and they recognize our community, this region, as a important contributor to the economic benefit of the whole state. So thank you, commissioners that attended that and helped participate in that. And I don't know if there's anything else. I don't see any. So next item, please.
Other?
Other. Does anybody have anything under other to speak to? Oh, yeah, Commissioner Lopez.
Thank you. Just a couple more quick things. Last week I spent a day and a half with corrections, and so I just want to thank Monica Harris for setting that up, and Jamie, Brittany, Marcus, Haley, Candace DePaul, Nervette, and Judge Woods. They all allowed me to spend time with them and just get a better understanding of what the adult corrections side looks like and how it functions. The second day, I spent half a day with their drug court program and just actually sitting in court with them all day and getting to see how they staff that before, which is a really unique experience to have, the judge and everybody from ComCare to the prosecutor to everyone there discussing, what's gone on since the last time this person has been seen, and really how do they wrap those services around them and what's the best way to proceed forward. I mean, drug court is it's doing such great things for this community, and hearing Judge Woods talk and ask everybody that comes up, really what they're looking forward to in the next couple of weeks, and hearing them all talk about, how Halloween is coming up, or they're going to be able to go do something with their children, knowing that maybe that wouldn't have been able to happen without this program. It was really touching to be able to be a part of that. So I want to make sure that I thank all of them. And also exciting news that they have their first veteran and Veterans Court started. So that's another really big step in the right direction going forward. So I'm grateful for all the work that they're doing. And then one last thing, the Crime Commission is doing a trunk or treat next week on the 30th from 5:30 to 7 at Leslie Rudd Education Center. So that'll be a really fun event. So bring your kids, and myself and my kids will be out there. So excited to see everyone. Thank you.
Okay. Anything else under other? I don't see any. Next item, please.
Executive session.
Commissioner Howell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move that the Board of County Commissioners recess into executive session for 60 minutes until 11:47 a.m. for preliminary discussions relating to the acquisition of real property for the purpose of discussing the potential purchase of land and buildings for use by county departments, and that the Board of County Commissioners returns to this room from executive session at 11:47 a.m.
Second. Any questions? I don't see any. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Lopez.
Aye.
Commissioner Dennis.
Aye.
Commissioner Beatty.
Aye.
Commissioner Howell.
Aye.
Chairman Meitzner.
Aye. Okay, are we upstairs?
Yes.
Okay. All right. We will be back at 11:47. Madam Clerk? Yeah.
Is Dennis not coming back? Okay, stand by for a 10 count.
Okay. Audience, please stand by.
Here we go. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5.
All right, good morning still, everybody. We've returned from executive session. No action taken. Is there anything else that needs to come before the commission this morning? Okay, happy Halloween, everybody, and we will stand adjourned.